Mem down off, right at the top. Okay, so I find my bearings in here. Amar Bishmo Ben Osh Rabbi Yochanan Broka. Third line from the top. Ma'aser shiur Rabbi Yochanan Nuri Eitz Rabbi Yochanan Broka. So Ma'aser Yochanan Nuri went to Rabbi Shmuel Ben Osh Rabbi Yochanan Broka's father, to Yochanan Broka, Abba, my father, the Beis Shorim, to the town of Beis Shorim. Ve'aro Gavi. And he showed him either, it's not clear, it's a vessel or a little puddle, which only have 40 lugim of water, still not enough to cancel snake venom. And rain was falling and dripping. And he just stooped down to the ground, and drank from this puddle. He said, there's no gili in this case because it's raining. Now, why? So he brings down here on the bottom that because it's muddy, snakes don't like mud. Another interpretation is that, which seems to be for the Gemara's, seems to be pasha. If you go when we go further, Gemara is that the snakes are distracted by the drops. They don't like raindrops, so they don't come out when it's raining. Vadhechon, that seems to be supported by the subsequent Gemara. Vadhechon, how much does that be raining? Raimona Baratachim B'Shem Rechin said, Akadei shetifrach hakoris, so that the rain, as it falls down, jumps up. When it kind of rebounds from hitting the puddle. Rabbi Lezer B'Shem Rabbi Yosef B'Shem Rav said, Akadei she'asa karagli avaz, when the rain ripples on the surface of the puddle, as if it's the feet of a goose. Rabbi Yaakov, I guess, when the feet of the geese go through water, so it creates like little waves, so here. Rabbi Yaakov Bracham became a true Tamash Soda, Utushma Mashbais. If it's out in the field, it's so muddy or so rainy, so the snakes don't even come out inside the house. Tana Ravesh, we learned Ravesh said, Hagiluin Nogim Ben Boris Ben Chutzor, it's a prohibition of yain or water, Megula, applies both in Eretz Yisrael and Chutzor, Bein Mosach Chama, both in the summer, Bein Mosach Shamim, and the winter. Okay? As long as it's not raining enough, so then there is a problem of Gilui. Okay, let's go back to the Mishnah, Halacha Gimel. It says, the end of Halacha Gimel, Nikurei Te'enim, by the little hay of the Mishpat. What? This is not the hard part. No. Not yet. Don't worry. It's not going to get hard till the next Mishnah. Nikurei Te'enim. Then it gets very hard. Nikurei Te'enim v'anovim. If you have figs, which are punctured. Right, punctured. Or grapes are punctured, but gishuim v'avatichim, cucumbers, melons, dluim, squash, melafifonos, another type of squash. If they're punctured, v'afilu kikorim, they're very large. They're like a loaf of bread. Echogod doesn't matter. Echogodov, echokotim, whether they're large or small. Tolach, chatoshim, chubar, or they are plucked from the ground, they're still connected to the ground. Kol sheish bolech, as long as some moisture in them also. If it's not moist, then you just cut off the part where the snake bit and eat the rest of it. But if it's moist, then some of the that it could spread, the poison spreads throughout through fruit. The shuchas hanochash asura, that which a snake bit is also mibnei sakonas nefashos, because of danger. Okay, back to the Gemara. Hamishmeres shel yain asura. Do you have that?
That's the latter part of the last line.
Oh, sorry, it's the last line of the Mishnah. I'm sorry. My mistake. If you have wine which went through a strainer, it's also because of gilui. It says perizal because the poison remains up in the upper part of the strainer, it doesn't go through. Back to the more. Ravina Bar Paz said, Matari Kurin, who's the Tana of the Mishnah of the Kurin? Ran Gamliel. It's like Ran Gamliel, when Ran Gamliel holds that snakes spit up their venom. If a snake drinks from water which is intended for paraduma and renders the water possible, they should make it because the snake spits up some of its venom into the water and renders it unfit. So Sirah Gamliel is the one who holds that snakes spit up venom when they eat or when they drink or they do anything. So that this is my just like Ran Gamliel. And Rabbi Yeina said, Ma ifchilon, why are you turning over? Literally, that's what literally means. What it means, why are you connecting mitzvahs gabi nikurim? mitzvah like paraduma vis-a-vis the halach of sakonas nefashos. Where it's here, the reason why we're answering is because sakonas nefashos. Whatever we hold, we might be makel by mitzvahs. By paraduma water, Rabbanan might be makel and saying the snake doesn't spit up water into the paraduma water because that's only a mitzvah. But by sakana, we're much more machmir. The lokain tani, didn't we learn a brisa? Tzipor, if you see a bird, no cares, potato pecking on a fig, v'achbor, or a mouse, menakar bavatiach, puncturing a melon. What? No. Not that I recall. Hareza osir. It's forbidden to eat the fig or to eat the melon, not because of the bird or because of the mice, because they're not poisonous. But oimrani, I say mokom anikor achlu, that perhaps in the place where a snake had previously punctured the fruit, they now ate, and therefore you won't be able to tell that a snake was been there previously. Rav said, this teaches us that a snake spits up its venom into the fruit which it eats. So we see that we're chayshesh when you see a mouse or you see a bird puncturing something. Maybe there was a previous puncture there, but that's only vis-a-vis sakonas nefashos. In trade in terms of treifus, Rabbi said name of the rabbis in Babel. We learned this in fact in the Bavli and Chulin. Shachta, if you shech the animal, chatvu zevim b'nei mea, and foxes came and grabbed the intestines, and later on you get them back and you find they're full of holes. They're mutter. The animal's mutter. Maybe let's be afraid that wherever the fox made a puncture, there was a pre-existing puncture which would make a treifa. Now you can't see it because b'nei me'ayim kosher. So we say no. We assume that the b'nei me'ayim, that the innards were kosher, unless proven otherwise. Thereby tarfus. You say that we assume that the innards are kosher. Here we say we're afraid that maybe there was a puncture previously from a snake. So chomru b'sakonas nefashos, it must be that it's a chumrah by sakonas nefashos that we're machmir for all sorts of scenarios. And they concede, even Rabbanan concede, that as far as the sakana punctured fruit goes, they're conceded on Gamliel that we suspect maybe a snake actually salivates its venom back into the whatever it's eating or drinking. Okay? Tanya, nevertheless, Rabbi Lezer Omer, says, Ochel otam teinim ba'noim b'layla, a person may eat figs and grapes at night, Ve'nechoshish, and does not have to be afraid. Mishum Shneimar, because it says, Shomer Pesoim Hashem, God watches the fools. So if you don't have light to see if it's punctured, you can eat it anyway. God watches the fools?
No, there's somebody wants to eat a date or a grape, throws it up to eat it, and then it's snatched away from you because it's part of a dead monkey. It died. I mean, a monkey ate one died.
All right, in any event, but this is interesting. I would say that if sakana were makel, it would certainly should be makel by isura, right? So nafkin be worms. Would you have to check a fruit for worms before you eat it, right? So if the worms are not apparent, the pashas from here is you don't have to, right? That's what it follows from here, right? Rabbi Yonah B'Shem Rav says, Dag Nokur, if you have a fish which is punctured, so Chai, if it's still alive and it was punctured, also because since it's alive, the venom will travel throughout the fish. Umaliach, if it's dead when it's punctured, but it's salt, but the salt causes the venom to travel throughout the fish. Maize, however, it's dead and dry, noitel makom haniko, you just take the place where it's punctured away, and the rest of it you can eat. Rabbi Yaakov Bar B'Shem Rabbi Chia Bar Ba said, Avatiach sheniker, if a melon was punctured. Sheit mismases u'bnei mea aser. If the insides have dissolved, in other words, the venom has dissolved the inside seeds, then the melon is aser. Chad Barnash have a toin melafafo nikure. Certain individual is carrying a squash which are punctured by snakes. And he gave 10 people to eat from it. Mason, they all dropped dead. Avris ruin ilave. So then some of the bitterness, some of the inner juices of one of these melons or the squashes passed on the guy himself, on the peddler, who paskate, and it cracked him open, and he died as well. Okay. Chad Barnash, Havisane. Here's a very interesting word. Chad Barnash Havisane Kupad Dimer. A certain individual who hated sheep meat. Kupad is meat, the imar of a sheep. Chatman Ava Achil Kupad. Kupad. One time he ate meat. Avar Chad. An individual came after he had finished eating. Vamarle said, "Hey, Dimarhu." It was lamb chops, sheep meat. Ivis akalis. He became all disgusted. Umis, and he dropped dead. So a fascinating thing. A person can drop dead retroactively. That's really what's happening here. But even though the time he ate, he had no idea that it was lamb chops. So later I found out, he killed him. Chamraya, another case. There were donkey drivers, Sherman Budaka, who spent the night in an inn. Armin Lund, so they said to the owners of the inn, Havalan Tapuchin, give us lentils. V'yavalon, they gave them lentils. Armin Lund, so they liked lentils so much, they said, give us doubles. Give us doubles. V'yavalon, they gave them doubles. Armin Lund, so they said to the innkeepers, Kamoin Avutavin. The first ones were better. And here I have the two words Mahani Lane from these. But that you had those? Mahani Lane?
Well, it's not Mahani, it's Mehai Lane.
Mehai Lane? Amrulo, so they said, could be. The reason why we didn't give you from the first batch is because Shazarti de Chivya Ashkachinun, we found the, what? A snake's spine inside the first batch of lentils. Banach in the first ones. And therefore we didn't want to serve them to you again, so we made you another batch. Here too, vis kalsun, retroactively they became disgusted, umisun, and they dropped dead as well. Ksiv, it says, B'ritzos Hashem darkeish, when a person's enemies, when Hashem is happy with a person, Kam oiva Hashem ito, his enemies will also make peace with him. Rav Meir Omer Zakel, it's talking about dogs. Shmuel Levi Omer Zanoch, it's talking about snakes. And now we have two maisim to prove this. Raya, there were shepherds, Chav and Chava, who were milking milk from animals. Va'asa Chivya, and a snake came, va'achol minei, and ate from that which they were from the animals, from the milk. They drank from the milk from which they had milked. Va'ava kalba mistakabe, a dog saw this happening. Kad asun yechlu, when the shepherds came to drink the milk, shari navachbon, the dog started barking at them. Loisbon, they didn't pay attention. But so far, in the end, achol, the dog ate the milk, umis, and the dog died. In other words, the dog was moser nefesh to save his master. So we see our dogs making peace with their masters. Another case, chad barnash ovid tom, a certain individual is making onions. Tom Shachi, ground onions, go basically in his house. Vasa Chivit, to a mountain snake came, and ate from the onions. Vava Chivya, the Besa, there was a domestic snake who was also poisonous. Mistakabe was watching this. Asam de Besa, so now the people of the household came to eat from that onion. Mishrei Matarte and offer. So the domestic snake started scattering them dirt, so they should not eat it. V'lo yizbonu, they didn't understand. The kala garmei garvei. So the domestic snake threw himself into the onions, so he'd be forced not to eat it. So here we see a snake saving people as well. Chad barnash, another individual. Zamin chad rabon. He invited a certain rabbi, and put a dog next to him at the dinner table. Amarle, so the rabbi said, I owe you embarrassment. In other words, what kind of disgusting thing is this you're doing to me? Amarle says that you tivu on a mishalim lay. I'm doing you a favor. How so? I have chatzman one time. Shavoin al kartu. The captors came into the city. One of the captors came in, but wanted to rape this rabbi's wife. So the dog which had sat next to him previously and made a relationship with him, came, achal beitzav, and ate the testicles of the rapist. So from here we see that it's advantageous to develop a good relationship with dogs. Okay? Now, here it comes. Chavis show truma. I'm going to read the whole Mishnah through. Here is one of the other times when the Kavanaki splits it up, and I don't like why I don't like it. Chavis show truma. You have a barrel full of truma. Shanoah ba safek tuma, in which a safek tuma was generated. Rabbi Lezer Omer, Lezer says, Imay saw, now it's a suffix. We don't know if it's tuma or tummy or not. Lezer Omer, Imay saw munachs makom atur, if it was in a place where it was in danger, in peril. In the Yinich makom, the truma. Right. And that's how it got its suffix tuma. So Rabbi Lezer says you have to upgrade it. Was in an imperiled location. Put it in a safe location. If it was revealed, cover it. Rabbi Yeshua Mer, if it was a place where it was concealed previously, on the contrary. Put it out in a perilous location. In other words, you can endanger, because after all, already now it's a Safek Tuma. If it was covered, you can reveal it. Don't do anything to it. Just leave it as is. You can't do anything to it. You have no right, because you're changing the status quo. You have a barrel which broke in the upper vineyard. Now, it's truma. It's a barrel of truma. But tachtona tmeya, there's chulin tmeim underneath it, lower down in the vineyard. What do? If you let the truma flow down into the lower vineyard, the lower wine press actually, then it's going to make meduma, and so there's not enough to be malad, so everything's going to be osir, because it's going to be tummy. So what do?
Something significant about the fact that it runs on low and stuff.
It flows down.
Just because of the natural
flow. I think. Rabbi Lezer Yeshua says Shim Yochol Latzu Mimen Revius B'Tara. Nonetheless, if you can save from it a revius as tar, Yatzel, you should save it. In other words, wait till you have tar kalim and save with Torah Kalim, even though the rest of it will become tummy when it falls down into the chulin, right? Vim lav, and if not, still, you cannot be metame biyadayim. You only can allow it to go down, become tame on its own accord. You can't deflect it by putting it into tame kalim, despite the fact that in the end result, both your truma and the chulin will become osir. Nonetheless, you can't deflect it away. So too, if you have a barrel of oil, which spilled, which is truma oil. They both could see you can say from it a revius as tar, yatsush go and do so. Even if not, let it go down and get absorbed in its own. And don't cause it to get absorbed on its own with your own hands. Valzu, Rabbi Yeshua. On both these cases. Yes. Yes. Valzu, Rabbi Yeshua. On both these cases, Rabbi Yeshua said, Lo zui truma shani muzar lo mitama. If it's going to get lost anyway, I'm not concerned I'm allowed to go and be mitama it. And the only thing I'm not allowed to do it, obviously, is not to eat it. Because it becomes tummy afterwards. Ubal to tameno. Ubal tameno case. So where's the case where I'm forbidden to be metame truma? A person is going from place to place. He had loaves of truma in his hands. The guy said to him, "Tell me, achas man, give me one of them. And I'll make it tame. If you love, and if not, I ran with time. It's going to be matame, all of them. Allow the guy to do it. Vayitain lo achas mehem. You're now let's give him one of them. V'yitamar and allow him to make a tummy. Rabbi Shua Merionel von of achas mehem al sela. Rabbi Shua says you're allowed to go further. You're allowed to put one on a stone, and then he should take it as long as they don't directly give it to his hands. V'chein noshim. So to women. Shom lehem goyim. The goyim of oivdei alilim. Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. V'chein noshim lehem goyim. Over the Elim, the guy said, give us one of your number, so the Tamon will rape her. If not, Anu Matami and Kulchem, going to rape all of you. Yitamus Kul, and they should allow all of them to be raped. Vayum Sulem Nevesh Achas Misro, they shouldn't allow one Jewish soul to be given over to the non-Jews, okay? In other words, they shouldn't volunteer, I should say, is the proper word. With Lot in the city, right? Lot didn't hold of this Gemara.
This also comes up in the context of murder.
What? Yeah, in Sanhedrin it's brought down in the context of murder as well. Not murder, whatever. Give me the goyim to murder, yeah. Okay. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Boon, Midivrei Shloishton, from all the Torah in the Mishnah, which are Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Yeshua, and Ram Gamliel, we learned Tliya also l'soifa. It says when you have a suffix of tuma in your truma, you either still safeguard it to the utmost, you become a little bit more lax, or you don't change the status quo. But nobody else you can burn it. So we see that when you have truma, which you're not sure whether it's tuma or not, you're not allowed to burn it. Okay? Now. Oh no, where's the now the Gemara is going to argue. Now says the Gemara, Chevrayim b'shem Rabbi Lezer. The Chevrayim name Rabbi Lezer. You know what? I want to get a magic marker a second. I'm going to use the board. I think you should probably move to the side here so you can see the board. Okay, this is a contradiction the Gemara is going to deal with. There's a contradiction between the two parts of the Mishnah. In the first part of the Mishnah, we're talking about a barrel in which a suffix tuma has occurred. In the second part of the Mishnah, we're talking about a barrel where a definite tuma has occurred that will immediately fall into a lower wine press. Okay? Actually, the barrel is not definitely tuma. I made a mistake there. A barrel of truma. A barrel of truma that will imminently fall into a lower wine press, which is tame. Okay, the lower press is tame. Okay, so here we have a barrel which is suffix tuma occurred already, and here we have a barrel of truma which will imminently fall into tuma, but it hasn't yet fallen there. Okay? So there seems to be a contradiction because in the beginning of the Mishnah, Rabbi Shua's opinion is that you can be lax with that barrel now. You can reveal it, put it into a place where it's in more peril, but you can't actually go be matame it. Here, Rabbi Eliyahu, in the second case, Rabbi Shua says in order to save the wine in the lower press, which is chulin, from getting mixed up with this truma, which is tame, you're allowed to put the truma wine, which is falling in, even into tame kalim. You're actually allowed to take it into your hands and be matame it. So it's a contradiction. Because here you're not allowed to be matame it. You're just allowed to loosen your rigidity. Right? Here you can even be matame it. So how do we reconcile two parts of the Mishnah? So Chavraya b'shem Rabbi Lezer. Look at the beginning of the Gemara. On the top of Memheim and Alf. Chavraya and Rabbi Lezer. Rabbi Lezer is an Amoycha. The Chaverim said Rabbi Lezer, Chavis are Rishon Rabbi Yossi. This first barrel in Rabbi Yeshua is like Rabbi Yossi. Vashnia and the second barrel is like Rabbi Meir. Who are Rabbi Yossi and who are Rabbi Meir? I'm glad you asked. So the first, the first Mishnah is like Rabbi Yossi. Like Rabbi Yossi. And this is, the second Mishnah is like Rabbi Meir. Now they have a machlokas by. Do you have trumas chometz on Erev Pesach? Needless to say, in a few hours, what's going to be with this chometz? It's going to be asa, right? So you have to get rid of it. So what do you do with it? So he says Rabbi Meir said, now here you have both, I should add, this is important. Truth Chayzer Pesach, you have both Tahar and Tummy. Okay. You have both Tahar and Tummy. So question is, can you burn them together or not? So the Gemara Pesachim, a hard one. So Rabbi Meir says, I'll write just a question here. Can you burn together Tahar and Tummy? So, no, we have to. You have no choice because it's Erev Pesach, right? So Rabbi Meir says, yes. Rabbi Meir says, yes. And Rabbi Yossi says, no. So these shittas are consistent. Because like Rabbi Yossi who says no, it means you can't cause tumah to Tahar Truma. So therefore he also holds you can reveal, like the Mishnah Chavis Rishon, the first barrel, so to speak, you can reveal it, but you can't be Matami. Whereas Rabbi Meir holds that you can't burn the Tamei and Torah together, even though the Torah will become Tamei as a result. That's like the second statement of Rabbi Yeshua, that you can even be Matame the Truma directly in order to prevent some negative occurrence later down the line. Okay? So the truth is, the two statements of Rabbi Yeshua, it's the author, both statements in our Mishnah here. Yet it's Rabbi Yeshua according to two separate Tanoim. One like Rabbi Yossi and one like Rabbi Meir. Okay? Is that clear so far? Again, Chavrai B'Shem Milah say Chavis Yishoyna Rabbi Yossi V'Shni Rabbi Meir. The Chavrai Omri, that was the Chavrai in the name of Rabbi Lezer. The Chavrai themselves said Chavis Yishoyna Rabbi Yossi. They added on. The Chavis Yishoyna is like Rabbi Yossi V'Lezer Meir Moediba. These two things cannot be reconciled. This like Rabbi Yossi, the Chavis Yishoyna first bows like Rabbi Yossi, and Rabbi Meir does not concede the point of that. The Chavishniya Rabbi Meir, and this is like Rabbi Meir, the second barrel, and Rabbi Yossi does not concede the point of that one. Never the twain shall meet. The Isser of making Truma, which is Tohar Tomei, even though in moments both of them will be also because it's Erev Pesach, doesn't matter. It's the principle of the matter. Exactly, you have to put them separately, according to Rabbi Yossi. Okay, Amar Lon, Rabbi Yossi. So Rabbi Yossi said to them, Rabbi Yossi is not the same Rabbi Yossi. It's Rabbi Yossi the Amora, not Rabbi Yossi the Tana. So Rabbi Yossi the Amora said to the Chavraya, Chamun Matzon Omrin. Look at what you're saying. Rabbi Yossi, you're saying that the first barrel is like Rabbi Yossi. Now I have a few words which I don't think you have. Meir does not concede the point. You don't have those words, do you? Hak Rabbi Meir. So what do you have? Hak Rabbi Meir, Mr. Zuger? Hak Rabbi Meir, right? The last 3 words in the first wide line. Hak Rabbi Meir, Sarfin. Your contention, Chevraya, right? Rabbi Yossi is speaking to the Chevraya. Rabbi Yossi the Amora, whose name is Rabbi Yossi Bar Zvida. Okay? Yossi is saying to Chevraya, okay, what are you guys saying? You're saying that Rabbi Meir would hold in this case what? Rabbi Meir, you're trying to say that Rabbi Meir in this case would hold. Rabbi Meir would hold, but Rabbi Meir in the case, can you see from there? In the case of the first barrel would say, Sorfin, burn it. That's what you would contend, right? There, Meir would argue and say, in this case, the first barrel, burn it. Don't just reveal it, burn it. Because her Meir holds, yeah, you can do it. Once you have a Tomei, just like once you have an imminent loss, that's it. You can go ahead and burn it. Rabbi Shimon sorfin. And like Rabbi Shimon, you also burn it. Rabbi Shimon we haven't seen it. Rabbi Shimon's a new player. We'll see what he says in a minute, right? But in any event, so according to both Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Shimon, you should burn it. If that's the case, v'yirbu Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Yosef Yisrofu. If that's the case, take Rabbi Meir plus Rabbi Shimon and equals, that should equal a majority. And the question Rabbi Yossi Bar Zvida is asking, since that's the case, so how could in the second Mishnah Rabbi Yoshua change his mind and say like In this case, how could Rabbi Shimon how could Rabbi Yoshua say like Rabbi Yossi? Right, that's basically what it's saying. If Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Shimon both say burn it, then they equal a majority. Then how can Rabbi Yeshua in this case paskin like Rabbi Yossi? We said before that Rabbi Yeshua holds like Rabbi Yossi that you can't call that when it ain't basically as far as it ain't over till it's over. Since that's the case, you can't burn Trumas Chometz on Erev Pesach both the time and Torah together. And over here you can't if you have a barrel which is suffix tumor occurred, you can reveal it, but you can't be matamiyat. But if you Rabbi Meir holds that it's over already before it's fully over, and therefore on Erev Pesach you can burn the Torah and Tummy together. So over here we would hold that if you have suffix tumor, you should be able to burn it. And we know Rabbi Shimon also holds you able to burn it. So Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Shimon equal a majority. They should override Rabbi Yossi. How could Rabbi Yeshua say like Rabbi Yossi? It's the Gemara's question. I didn't understand it when I prepared it. Now I understand it, actually. It's not bad. It's a good question. You got it?
I got it.
Yeah. Got it?
The obvious answer is that Reb Shimon doesn't agree with Reb Meir.
Yeah, we're not going to say that. Says the Gemara, V'od, and furthermore, Minadod Anachami Rabbanin, from the fact that I saw, this perhaps is more the question. I've seen all the time that the rabbis, when a case like this comes in front of them, like the first barrel, and it's which is subject to occurs, I have the words Amrin Zeal. They say go and be tola. They say don't go burn it. Don't go burn. So not like you guys. Now we ask, where do we find Rabbi Shimon Sarfin? Rabbi Shimon holds you burn. Where do we find such a thing? Tzni'na Tamam, we learned over there. Modim Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Yoshua. Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Yoshua both concede. Shesarfin Zula Atzma, Zula Atzma. They both hold that you burn the Torah and Tameh and Erev Pesach separately, right? The Torah and Tameh and Erev Pesach you learn burn separately. Rabbi Yochanan said, Rabbi Shimon Shana. Now, the truth is, this is one of the many cases in which Yerushalmi brings out the beginning of a statement. It really means to bring a raya from the end of the statement. The end of the statement there, but the Rabbi Lezer and Yeshua say you burn it separately. However, the Mishnah goes on to say that that's only in a case where one is Torah and one is Tameh. One is Torah and one is Tameh. But where one is Tahar, one is Tameh and one is Talui, then you can burn them together. And that's Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon says that. Now I want to write that down. Rabbi Shimon who says that in a case on Erev Pesach, you do burn Tameh and Tolui, right? Tameh is definitely Tameh, and Tolui is Safek together. So according to Rabbi Shimon, really we say Tolui already has the status of Tameh. You can burn them together, right? Again, the Gemara doesn't bring down this part of the statement, but the raya is from that part of the statement. That according to Rabbi Shimon, you can burn Tolui and Tameh together on Erev Pesach. So you burn totally and tummy together. That means that totally is considered to be over, even though it's not really over yet. Like Rabbi Meir, who says also even more of a chiddush, that you can burn Tomei and Tor together, not just Tomei and Toli, right? So, but in any event, put the two of them together and say over here, where Safek Tumor occurred in a barrel, don't just reveal it, go and burn it, right? So, Rabbi Yochanan said that this statement over there about Erev Pesach burning the Toli and Tomei together is Rabbi Shimon. V'in Timrun. Okay, so if that's the case, so we have a kasha, right? V'in Timrun, maybe you guys will want to say in answering the question, Leisle Rabbi Meir Tliya, the Rabbi Meir doesn't know the concept of Tliya. Now, oh, sorry, I missed. Scratch that. Let me read the question again. V'in Tamrun, and if you want to continue, in fact, along your lines, and this is asking a further question. If you're going to say, let me make this clear again. I'm not making this properly clear. It's really simple. He's saying, I want to ask another question on you. In Tamrun, he's saying, if you are going to say that Rabbi Meir holds that you definitely burn Safek, and that Rabbi Meir does not hold that you ever leave Truma Tluya. Now, let me clarify the question he's asking. He's asking a very fundamental question. He's saying, you guys, Chevraya, you just said something very fundamental in Rabbi Meir. I don't even know, Chevraya, if you realize yourselves what you said. You said according to Rabbi Meir, every time you have Truma, which is a Safek Tuma, what do you do with it? You burn it. So according to you, there's no concept of Tluya. In Rabbi Meir, there's no concept of Tluya. That's what you're contending. Because what did you say? You said that according to Rabbi Meir, the second barrel is like Rabbi Meir, which means that as something which is imminently going to become Tomei, go ahead and be Matamei it, which means bring it to burning. And you said that Rabbi Meir would therefore argue on the first Mishnah. And you'd say if you have a Safek Tuma, go ahead and burn it as well. Right. So what are you saying? The Rabbi Meir does not hold the concept of ever leaving Truma as clear. Leaving it over and not committing yourself and allowing it to remain literally dangling. In other words, till it rots or till it gets some other definite Tuma and so on and so forth. So, a Vintim, what are you going to say in fact? Leisle Rabbi Meir Tliya, Hatani, didn't we learn? It's not true. We learned Truma, Tluya, Truma, which is a suffix. And it should be, instead of Utmei, it should be Utohera. You have Truma, which is Toli, and Truma, which is Tor. Sorfi Noisan Erev Shabbos Im Chashecha. Divrei Rabbi Meir. Now, this is another case which we haven't seen yet. Another case of Erev Pesach. Okay? I'm not sure where to put it. Let's just put it right here. You have Erev Pesach, and you have Tluya plus Tahora. Oh, I forgot. Erev Pesach comes out on Shabbos. Erev Pesach is Shabbos. So, what do? You really can't burn it on Shabbos itself. So Meir says, you burn it, burn right before Shabbos. Rabbanan holds, Divrei Meir, Chachomim say Bismana. Chachamim say, eradicate it tomorrow, at the right time. How do you eradicate it tomorrow? We all know. If you have Chometz Erev Pesach on Shabbos, you flush it down the toilet, feed it to the dogs, feed it to Goyim. Now, be that as it may, Rabbi Meir holds you burn it right before Shabbos. So the Gemara, his question, Rabbi Yossi Bar Zvita means to ask on the Chevraya. He says, listen, guys, if you are a mayor, doesn't know the concept of Tluya. That means Tluya is Tameya, essentially. It's as if it's a completely tummy. So then why does he have to wait till right before Shabbos to burn it? Let him burn in the middle of the afternoon. Let him burn it earlier in the day. Why wait so long? He could have burnt it much earlier, right? Why? Because it's tummy. If he's waiting till the last moment right before Shabbos, it must be because since it's only Tluya, therefore you got to wait with it till the last possible moment. Why? Because it's not like Tmeya. It was Tmeya could burn immediately. Okay?
Where does Chavraya attribute to Rameir that there is no concept of Tluya?
It's only by inference, right? We infer that the Chavrayas say the second barrel, which says you can put it into Tamei Kalim, is like Rabbi Meir, and not the first barrel. I mean, the first barrel it says you just can reveal it, but he can't be Matamid, is like Rabbi Yossi, but not like Rabbi Meir. So it must be like Rabbi Meir, since that's the inference, which Rabbi Yossi Bar Zvita was drawing from Chavraya. It must be that they hold that Rabbi Meir would hold by the first barrel, which is Safi Tuma can occur, they can be Mamish Matami and be burned right away. And that he's asking, if that's the case, I have two questions on you. A, the Rabbi Meir, that's the case, we should paskin like Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Shimon over Rabbi Yossi, because they're a majority. And B, I prove to you that Rabbi Meir does not hold that because that Tluya equals Tov Tameya, because he says when Erev Pesach comes on Shabbos, you have to wait till the last possible moment even to burn the Tluya, not just to burn the Torah. So we see that he holds that it's Safek Tuma, is still a Safek. It's not the same thing as Varai Tami. Okay? So I'm Rabbi Zir Kumi Rabbi Mona. So now we have two answers on this. Two answers about this specific case of Erev Pesach on Shabbos. Why? Clear way he's going to ask about it. Now, the two interpretations about ask about it. One interpretation about ask about it is that he wants to ask a Rav. Maybe the Rav will tell him this is really not Tluya. It's really Tahar. There's a case where he hasn't yet asked the Rav whether it's a bona fide Safek or whether it's just his mistake. That's one interpretation of Lishar Aleh. Another interpretation of Lishar Aleh is, don't forget, Truma is really a neder. And on a neder we have a concept of Hataras Nedarim, which is called She'elah as well. So the other interpretation is here is he's going to go to a Chacham and what's the word? Annul is neder, in which case it will no longer be Truma, in which case the whole Tluya issue will fall off. So either of interpretations can work here, okay? So when do I say, really, Rabbi Meir holds Tluya is like Tameya, except in two possibilities, both of which are indicated by this case, although we don't know which one. In a case where he's going to go and ask a Rav, and maybe the Rav will pass and it's really mutter, or a case where he's going to go and be Matthew's original neder, which made the Truma. Amar lei. And he said to him, Kain Amar Rabbi Yossi. That's Rabbi Yossi said. Kol Tluyin wait, let me check who's saying this. Yeah, Amalei. So Amalei seems to mean that even Rabbi Yossi Bar Zvita, who was asking the question, Rabbi Yossi is the one who's doing the asking the whole time, that about their man Rabbi Shimon being majority, about Erev Pesach comes down on Shabbos, Tluyin Torah. So Amar Lei and Ken Amar Rabbi Yossi, and he said so. And Rabbi Yossi himself, Rabbi Mona said to Rabbi Zira, "You're saying good answer, because even Rabbi Yossi Bar Zvita holds closely in Danar Namrin Hacha. When do we have such a halacha, the Tluya, but where it's got to get burnt, the Tluya she'ein daito lishoel, by Tluya where he doesn't have the intent to ask a question on it. Avol daito lishoel, but where his intent is to ask questions on it, or to knows neder tohiroi, it's as if it's Torah. The Tani we learned Tluya shamar. What do you have? Do you have shamar? Tluya shamar tohiroi tmeyahi harei tmezu tmeya. A Tluya only where he gave a pope on it, and he said, "I don't Tamei. There's no way of ever finding out." Then it's Tamei. But if he said, I'm going to leave it over, maybe I'll go ask on it and get a heter, So then it's still as if it's still tar, and therefore it still has to be maintained. And in this case, right before Shabbos, only then can you burn it. That's one way. So that's one way in which we can say, Rav Meir tacos, there's no difference between Tluya and Tameo. But only in a case where you already determined, either because you already asked the Rav, or you're not going to ask a Rav, that it's tummy as far as you're concerned. But not in a case where there's still a possibility that you go to a Rav and either get ask a Shaila or get your neder annulled. That's one way of answering the question. Rabbi Yosef bar Buna, another way of answering the question. Maybe the reason why Rav says burn it right before nightfall is because the suffix occurred right before nightfall. Maybe tell you about a case where the suffix occurred just then. But the suffix occurred early in the day. You burn it early in the day. You don't have any resolution from here. V'od asum amin Now, we're returning now to Rabbi Yossi bar Zvida. Rabbi Yossi bar Zvida was asking Kashas on the Chevraya who said this whole scheme there. Okay, so Rabbi Yossi said, furthermore, you said like this. You said Chavis Hashniya. The second case, where the barrel of truma will imminently fall into the lower wine press, which is tamei, that there Rabbi Shua said you can even put the truma into tamei kalim in order to prevent it falling into the lower wine press. You said Rabbi Meir. You said that's Rabbi Meir. The late Rabbi Yossi did not concede that case. Okay, that's what you guys said. How can you say this? But Tanya, didn't we learn that when is this true? When can you do this? Before she'ein ba kitei lahalos. Only where the lower press does not have enough chulin to cancel the truma. In other words, it doesn't have a ratio of 100 to 1. Avo bebor, but if it's a case of a bor sheyesh ba kitei lahalos, which has a ratio of 100 to 1, afilu kol shehi osur letamo, afilu kol shehi osur letamos, you're not allowed to be matame at all. Now to be matame anything, right? V'ik Rabbi Meir. What?
I don't understand the difference between the bore. The impact of the bore can be shiur.
If the bore has 100 to 1, so even though the truma will fall in and become tamei, it still will not be a problem for you to eat because anyway it's butter. Therefore, you're not allowed to make the truma tamei be a dime. Okay, that's the thing. Since it's not going to be inedible, since there's going to be 100 to 1 canceling, so therefore it's excuse me. So therefore you're not allowed to be matame a dime.
So that's the case with Yeshua. So the mayor is saying it even in that case.
Oh, so that's against kasha. That's Rabbi. Let me read the kasha, and then I'll come back and explain it. V'in Rabbi Meir. If it's going like Rabbi Meir, I have the word he, which you don't have, I think. Yesh b'ktei lahalos. He yesh b'ktei lahalos. He ain't b'ktei lahalos. It makes no difference. There's enough or not. Now let's explain that. Okay. His kasha is like this. Later on, it says that which you can put into tamei kalim is only if the lower press doesn't have enough coolant to cancel the truma, which clearly indicates that if the lower press has enough to cancel the truma, then you can't be matame the truma by putting it to tamei kalim. Now, ask Rabbi Yossi bar Zvida on the Chevraya, if you say that this whole second barrel is going like Rabbi Meir, then like Rabbi Meir, any truma which is imminently going to be lost, it's considered already as if it's over, right? So listen, this truma which is falling, no matter what, catch 22, it's lost no matter what. If there is a minority of chulin, if there isn't enough to be mevatel, it's for sure lost. Because it's going to become tamei and there's nothing to do with it. But even if there's a majority of chulin, it's still going to lose its status as truma. It ain't truma anymore. It's going to be chulin. So if that's the case, why can't I go be matami with kalim tameim? It's over. It's finished. It's gone. So therefore, it should make no difference if the lower press has nothing to be mevatel or not. As truma, this is finished. Since that truma is finished, I should be allowed to be matami it. So again, if it's like Rameir, he yesh boktei laos, he ain't boktei laos. So it's a kasha on you guys, even on the second part. Vod minado. And further, I have a question on you from the following. Titznina, we learned. We're going to learn later on. Rabbi Yossi, Eino hi amida. This is not. Oh, are we going to list later on? No. Tomorrow I'm Pesachim. Yeah. Okay. Furthermore, we learned later. We learned the Pesachim. Eino hi amida. This is not the proper measure. Now, what we're asking is like this. We're asking, going back to ask Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi says you're not allowed to be matame truma which is about to get lost, right? Remember, we said in the first barrel, we said reveal it, but don't be matame. We said it's going to Rabbi Yossi, who says you're not allowed to be matame. It ain't over till it's over, and therefore, even if it's imminently about to get lost, you still can't be matame it, right? Okay. Now, well, let's ask him that Rabbi Yossi, because after all, the Gemara says in Pesachim, or I should say, the Mishnah brings down in the Mishnah that Rabbi Yossi says, Eino min amido. Let me write down the exact quote there. It says there, Omar Rabbi Meir. Omar Rabbi Meir. Midivrei Shnehem. From the words of both Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yeshua, what are you looking for? From the words of both Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Yeshua. Midivreim, it says. Midivreim Lamad. From the words of both Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Yeshua, we learned Shesorfim Truma Torim Apei Shesorfim. That you can burn Truma Tahora in Hatmeya Bepesa. Says you can burn, because that's our Shita, that when it's over, it's over. You can burn Tahora in Hatmeya, because it's already lost, it's finished, it's gone. And that Rabbi Yossi said, Amar Rabbi Yossi Eino Min Hamida. This is not a proper form, not proper measurement. That's Rabbi Yossi says. Now, what does that mean?
You can't derive that from Rabbi Lezer.
No. That's not. Okay, so that, what does that mean? It's not a proper form. So he explains, the Kavanaki explains that Rabbi Yossi is saying, although Rabbi Yoshua allows being matir truma be avuda be yadayim, Rabbi Yeshua allows this case here. In other words, Rabbi Yossi says, even though in the case of the second barrel, in the Sechta Terumos, when it's allowed to be matame the truma, which is imminently going to fall into the lower wine press, we cannot extrapolate from that to chametz by Pesach. Eino min amida means I can't extrapolate from this case of the second barrel to the case of Pesach. Eino min amida Trumos is not comparable to Pesach. That's what he means. So if that's the case,
ultimately resolves our question on Rabbi Yeshua from Amud Aleph. Because at Amud Aleph, our question was, how can he hold like Rabbi Yossi in one case and Rabbi Meir in the other? The answer is
he doesn't.
That one doesn't carry over from another.
V'leis bar, that's exactly what we're saying here. V'leis bar nosh That's exactly what the Gemara is saying, and that's Rabbi Yosef Bar Zvida's question. For leis bar no shamar kein elu du moidi al kamaisa. A person doesn't say you can't make a comparison unless he agrees with the case and unless he agrees with the issue over there and says don't compare it to over here. So it means by Rabbi Yossi saying that I can't compare this case to the second barrel to Chometz on Pesach, it means he concedes to this halach in the second barrel. He says, don't compare that to Chometz on Pesach. So you wanted to say that this case of the second barrel might be going like Rabbi Meir and not like Rabbi Yossi. It has to be going like Rabbi Yossi. Must be going like Rabbi Yossi. Because Rabbi Yossi's point is I can't compare the second barrel to Chometz on Pesach. So it must be that here Rabbi Yossi would concede that where we have such a case of Truma falling down from the upper press to the lower press, that there even Rabbi Yossi concedes it's considered to be over and done with, and it can be matami. But Chometz on Pesach, burning on Erev Pesach, it's still not the same comparable because it's a different type of scenario, and there he doesn't concede. So the Chavraya don't answer this question; they remain silent on the issue. Amar Maikadon. Why is it not comparable? Why can't I compare the Truma to the Pesach? So it says Gemara, I'll tell you why. Here, by our case, by Truma, the Truma Tmei is falling into the Chulin. The Torah, not the Torah, the Rabbanan. They said, Chaval, the guy's going to lose all that wine on the bottom. So it's not nice. We have Rachmanis on him. Let's not make him lose all that wine, right? So again, but by the end of Pesach, so what do you have to do? You have to make two different bonfires. Big deal. So make two different bonfires. Don't burn them together. It's what loss is caused is being caused. So nonetheless, he's not causing a loss. As is asking. Still, who needs wood to burn each one separately? That's also a shtickle loss. So we're saying, wait, there's still a loss over there by Pesach. Says we're no. Let's say merube choshishu for a significant loss that all his wine is going to get lost. That's a significant loss. They're choshishu. Let's say more lo choshishu. They weren't so makbid on a small loss, such as the loss of having to make two separate bonfires. That they said make two separate. That's Rabbi Yosef. It's not comparable. For Efsei Merubah, we allowed you to be matame. For Efsei Mord, we didn't allow you to burn them together. Rabbi Yosef Barbun. Rabbi Yosef Barbun said, Tipater. I want to answer the Chavraya. I'm going to answer the Chavraya up. Midid Kimanda Amar. I want to say that Rabbi Meir's Divrayim Lamadnu. Without this, to have to go through the whole logic now would be very complicated. So I'm not going to go through the whole logic, but rather all we're just going to do is say what he's saying over. He's saying that Rabbi Meir says Divrayim Lamadnu. So Rabbi Yossi Bar Zvidan asking his question said, listen. The Divrei Laban says that Rabbi Meir is learning out from this case. Rabbi Yossi says don't extrapolate from this case. So much Rabbi Yossi holds of this case, and he just says it's not comparable to Pesach. The Chefraya learned that when Rabbi Meir said Divrei Laban, it's going on something else. It's going not on Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Shua over here, but Rabbi Chanina Skana Konim and Rabbi Akiva's words in Psachim itself. And he was saying we'll learn from them. And Rabbi says, don't learn from Rabbi Chanin Skana Konim and Rabbi Akiva to the case of burning Pesach and Erev Pesach. Again, without going into the intricacies of what that is or is not, the bottom line is that Rabbi Yossi Bar Zvida's diuk falls down. Because Yossi Zvida's diuk was based on the assumption that Rabbi Meir said, let's learn out from here, and Rabbi Yossi saying, well, let's not learn out. So as we see, Rabbi Yossi concedes this case, he just doesn't want to learn out from here. But if we say Rabbi Meir was learning out from a different case, Rabbi says, don't learn out from a different case, it's still possible Rabbi Yossi doesn't agree with this case in the second barrel. In the case of the second barrel, Taki will also hold that you can't still put into Tamei Kelim, and this in fact will still only be like Rabbi Meir and not like Rabbi Yossi. Okay, so that circumstantial evidence which Rabbi Yossi Bar Zvida brought, which seemed strong, he's saying it's not so strong because it depends how you learn the words with Ivreim Lamanu, which appear there in Psachim. Okay, that's the end of the hard part. Rabbi Ila, Rabbi Zira Taveim. How hard was it? Pretty hard? No? Okay.
You explained very well.
All right. I don't think without the border would have worked. Rabbi, at least not for me. Rabbi Ila, Rabbi Zira Taveim B'Shem Rabbi Yochanan Armin. Rabbi Ila and Rabbi Zira both said name Rabbi Yochanan. Chavis Harishoina Rabbi Yossi. It's going back on the same principles. Chavis Harishoina Rabbi Yossi. The first battle is like Rabbi Yossi, that we wait. In other words, we can't burn it right away. The Chavis Hashliya Bake Rabbi Meir, bake Rabbi Yossi. That can even be going like Rabbi Meir, going to like Rabbi Meir, or like Rabbi Yossi. Why? Because there it's definitely going to be lost. So even Rabbi Yossi, like we just said a few minutes ago, Rabbi Yossi Bar Zvida, even Rabbi Yossi agrees that it's definitely going to be lost. You might as well just go ahead and be Matami in order to save Jewish money. Rabbi Zira Kumi Rabbi Mana. Rabbi Zira said in front of Rabbi Mana, V'leisa da pliga Rabbi Yossi. Doesn't this argue Rabbi Yossi, right? The second case, because we see that Rabbi Yossi says, and her Pesach now to be matame the truma. So here too shouldn't be allowed to be matame. Amalei, so he said, Lama Nema Amalei Nomar the Lo Rabbi Meir. That which you said, that the first Mishnah is going like, in other words, the first battle is going like Rabbi Meir, that's good. No more the low Rabbi Yossi, but you want to say the second battle is not like Rabbi Yossi, that's bad. In other words, what do you mean? What do I mean by that? So it's basically, the Lashon of the Yerushalmi is funny. But Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Zira, Rabbi Ila, and Rabbi Zira are having a parallel discussion. Rabbi Zira and Rabbi Mana have a parallel discussion. Rabbi Zira wants to say this is like Rabbi Yossi, but this cannot be like Rabbi Yossi. So Rabbi Mana says you're right about this. This is going like Rabbi Yossi, but that what you said, this is not like Rabbi Yossi. You're wrong about that. Okay, that's what basically saying. And he's explaining. Nicha the lo Rabbi Meir Ne'amar. This I understand is not like Rabbi Meir. The case of the first barrel. Tishmetzein Rabbi Meir. Sorry, Pluya b'chol makam. Rabbi Meir holds you can always burn Pluya. Right? Like Rabbi Yossi Bar Zvida wanted to prove before. Rabbi Meir holds you can always burn Pluya. That's right, not like Rabbi Yossi. The Chevraya said you can always burn Pluya. Pluya is the same thing for Rabbi Meir like Tmeir. You can always burn it. Period. Okay. So this is not going like this first barrel where it says reveal but don't be matamit. That can't be going like Rabbi Meir. It has to be going like Rabbi Yossi. However, Ramona said, Azilni Azlisa Keso, and I went to Caesarea. Shamis, I heard Rabbi Zira, Shem Rabbi Zira said the Rabbi Meir Takol sorry flew b'chomok. You always burn truma tluya. I asked him about Filu Kingon Shitor Dvartor. What if the suffix is only the Rabbana, not a Dorais? Can you burn it then? He said, yes, on a patlach, she need mace mother shagoyim. I tell you the case it's a tumah the Rabbana, such as where he came to me, because it came into contact with goyim. Mother shabagoyim, mabiyadach. Where did you hear something about where it came into contact with a place where goyim reside? Tani learned mother shagoyim totally. We learned where it came, the truma came into contact where a place of the goyim reside, so it's a safek. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda, Omer Sorfin, even though it's only a safek, you burn it, which is like we just said in Rabbi Meir. So Rabbi Meir holds it like Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda, that even on Tluya, even on the Rabban on Tluya, even when it's question only of a tumah the Rabban, you burn it. Rav Huna, Shem Rabbi Yirmiyah said, Rabbi Meir, Omer said, Sorfin Tluya b'shayim mos hashana. You burn Tluya not just in Erev Pesach, but even on the rest of the year, the whole time, just like we just said, the name Ramana. The Tani we learned Truma Tluya, if you have Truma, which is totally, and the next word should be Antohera. Sorry for no so like we learned before. Sorry for so Erev Shabbos Chashecha. They're married. You could burn it only right before nightfall. You wait till the next day. You know what? I want to get to Amud Aleph, but it's already late. So let's stop here and we'll come back to this tomorrow. We'll start from Rabbi Huna tomorrow. Okay? Not bad. For a hard Gemara, we did almost too much.